Start spreading the news.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
New York, I love you. I love New York.
Rose trying to get open, fires away. Bang! It's over! The Bulls win at the buzzer! Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection. Puts up the three. Won't go. Rebound box. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron, and we got a special show for you guys today. And I got in the passion seat, co-hosting me today, Walker. Walker, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just taking in summer league and just kind of carrying on. Doing all right.
There we go. So we got a special guest with us today. My guy, Evan Townsend. He's an NBA draft guru and also covers the Spurs for Project Spurs. Evan, what's going on, my guy? Welcome to that Off the Ball podcast.
Hey, man. How's it going? Super excited to be here. Appreciate you guys for having me.
Yes. So before we get into all the, all the great stuff that's going on in Summer League and the Spurs, Evan, tell the people, a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Oh, yeah. I've been working for Project Spurs for a little over 2 years now. It's a blessing, covering anywhere from the G League all the way up to, obviously the San Antonio Spurs. I pretty much focus on the draft and obviously, the rookies, but a lot of new content coming up with the new season. Obviously the Wemby effect is real. The Spurs are getting a lot of new eyes on them, and it's just an exciting time, man. So I didn't put my at on here. I didn't know I had to put my little at on the little bottom row, but literally, hey, I just post threads and memes and stuff like that of just different types of content, just covering the draft and the Spurs. So if that's your bread and butter, feel free to follow me, and I'm sure they'll post. We'll get the links, all that kind of good stuff when this comes out. So yeah.
Yeah. We'll post all the links after. We'll get you do the plugs and all. But that's how I got to know, because I do. Obviously, I like the draft and all that. That's how I saw you and all that. And Walker had mentioned you. So, but when was your first draft cycle that you really got into?
I tailed in at the very end when I first joined Project Spurs, and my first article was, "Are the Spurs going to draft Kai Jones or Alperen Sengun?" And I'm not gonna lie, I had no idea who Josh Primo was. I just started. I had heard his name. I knew nothing about his game, and obviously just dove right in after that. And that situation happened, but you move on, and basically I just kept the train rolling with the new class after that. So yeah.
Yeah, Josh Primo. I mean, you guys have made up for that ever since. So it's I think Spurs fans are going to be all right with you guys missing. As I'm a Knicks fan, so we miss almost every year. So I understand, missing on some guys and all that. I'm far too used to that and all that. But obviously, Summer League, you guys have, a very intriguing prospect that's kind of tall and all that. That's making some head waves and all that. I want to talk to you guys about one thing. And as far as hype, and I did this on my college basketball show, and I talked about hype and all that. And obviously, Wemby's getting a lot of hype. But do you feel like the hype is just, obviously we know it's extreme, but do you feel like it's fair with all that? Because it's not just it's not like with Zion, where he's accustomed to how American media covers the game of basketball nowadays. We're dealing with Wemby, who's coming from France, is not used to this type of media. This is a different, and we talked about before the show, where cameras are literally following him, his every movement. He's just standing, just watching, Blazers Rockets, and the camera's right there. And even the post game, maybe it's just me, but I just kind of felt like he was kind of not getting irritated, but all these random questions and all that is just oh, wow, this is, I got to get used to this, because this is definitely different and all. So talk to me about hype and how you feel about the hype, surrounding Wemby and everything that's come with that.
It's a learning experience for all of us, I think. Like,
Yeah,
you almost can't engage with a lot of it, like, just because it's all so ridiculous. But like, I mean, just especially for a small market team now, like really, really small market relative to the rest of the league, like everything he does from a basketball standpoint is either going to be excessively praised or excessively criticized. Like, there's never going to be an in between. Like, there are, blue check mark people who crowned him as a bust, and there's other people like Waj who said he was the greatest prospect in the history of team sports. Like, neither of those things is probably fair. It's just somewhere, if you set your sights somewhere in the middle and you live in the middle, then you're probably going to be all right. Like, you'll probably be okay. But it's not really fair to the kid. Like, he has to deal with so much stuff that he probably wasn't prepared for. Like, we talked about that a little bit before the show, just because like he's sitting up there with Kareem, and then he's doing the in-season tournament show last night, like after a press conference the night before, where he was like, I just don't even know the offense because I don't even have time to like actually just go to practice and learn how to run the offense yet. Like, so just kind of is what it is.
Yeah. I feel like when it comes down to it, he kind of maybe had an idea of, all the his daily itinerary of what he maybe had to do, but just the reality of it kind of maybe the lights are too bright. No, shout out to Jared Allen, but it's his first go around. It's his first merry-go-round. I feel like after his first performance, which we'll talk about obviously, maybe he might have been down on himself, maybe been disappointed. But there's a lot of greats that had terrible first summer league games and first couple outings that just couldn't get going. Just the gravity of the attention just may have caused even teams. We'll talk about the game in a second, obviously, but teams are going to be trying to push him off of his game, doing anything and everything he can just to get him wiggled. So, I'll say this: I'm not going to have a huge prediction of what he may or may not do tonight, but as long as he can just get in shape, stay in the gym, and find the time to work on himself, as well as get a good rest block, like he's going to be fine. And obviously, he's not doing the Euros, the Euro tournament this summer. I was kind of nervous that he was going to participate in that. So, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I when I heard about that, I wasn't shocked. I'm like, the Spurs are not going to let their, potential, face of the franchise, superstar, play in that and risk anything, So that definitely made sense and all that. But and I think he went to the perfect spot because, yes, even with all the media, if there's a place that can train him and tell him, how to navigate through the daily grind of not just the NBA, but not having to deal with all the other stuff that comes, it's San Antonio. Because I always said, like, what if like this was New York? Like, what if they had placed him in New York and be the number one pick, and it would have been, or LA, like, but like I was like, what if like let's say he did go to New York, let's just say, and like. That's a lot to deal with if you're just a regular prospect, or a regular player, and so I think he went to a good spot and I think, he'll figure it out. I think he's, he's probably talking to the right people to help him throughout this. Cause like I said, it's a lot. Like it's probably too much right now. And remember, he's 19 years old. Like imagine us at 19 dealing with people just constantly taking pictures and videos and criticizing you, everything you do and all that. It's kind of wild. But what were you expecting from this first game? Because at the end of the day, it's a summer league game, and like we shouldn't be criticizing anyone off of one summer league game and all that. But what were your expectations, Evan? You go first. Of Victor in his first game, playing with a bunch of new guys, and let's face it, he's not. A lot of these guys probably are going to be on your roster opening day. So a couple guys might, and even the guys who are playing, they may not be getting minutes, big time minutes. So like he's playing with guys he's probably not even going to see opening day, most likely. So just what were your expectations of Victor, game one?
So yeah, real quick. One thing I did notice is the Spurs kind of staggered him. He was the first sub out in like 3 minutes, Walker, and they staggered him with guys that are going to be on the team, on the main roster for the most part. Julian Champagny. That could be in Austin. At least hopefully not. But yeah, there's
Walker is not a Blake Wesley guy. He is
we
not a
we
Blake Wesley guy.
we never talk about him as the starter of the future, and that's for good reason. But we'll talk about that in a second. In terms of Wembys' expectations, I expected him to have at least some type of offensive fluidity with connectivity with his teammates, and have not just like a simple 2-man game and dribble drag screen up to just a pick and pop. I was expecting, hey, like let's get busy from baseline fadeaway. If it's if they're double teaming you, attacking you, let's get some shooters all around and guys in the dunker spot. And he made a couple right reads, but guys just missed layups. He would have had like 5 or 6 assists in the first quarter alone if guys would just finish. But assist Victor, vision Victor, defensive anchor Victor, that was just on full display, and that's his floor. Like that's his floor. Like we can talk about what he can do tonight, but last like 2 nights ago, that was his floor. We see guys that are getting rattled and don't even want to step in the paint from outside the 3-point line, knowing that he's just gravity with his 8-foot wingspan. He's, like I said, I say this all the time, a slender man with the actual NBA pads that they use in practice. Just you're not used to that. So ideally, I'll say this and I'll close and I'll wrap it up. You have to imagine Victor with full confidence, with better teammates around him, with actual Pop's coaching style instilled in him, with not just like the first couple weeks. So maybe he's resting here, doing media day here. A couple commercials didn't come out. He was in Portland doing the Nike thing, and then he came back next day. Yeah, so let him get situated, let him in, and it's not going to look pretty, but I'm just looking for easy shots, easy floaters in the lane. You can do the running one-handed floaters when it's time to get bailed out from 3, when it's time to, when shot clock's running down. But let's see some easy buckets. And he got 7 or 8 good looks. Looks. Only scored on times he got fouled, but that's another story, another day. So.
Yeah, I mean, I expected more made shots. Like, I expected him, like, not a lot more. Like, kind of expected like a 6 out of 13 instead of a 2 out of 13, and then just flashes of a lot of the other stuff. Like, I really didn't have a lot of expectations. Like, I didn't think it would be as bad as it was, but like, his defense is already like pro ready. Like, that was flash.
It really is, yeah.
And honestly, my expectations of him as a playmaker and as a passer were probably lower than what he showed the other night, which I think is that extra space on the floor, just actually having room to work, as opposed to Europe, where he probably didn't have a lot of that space. So those things really impressed me. And then I just, shots didn't go down. And then I thought it was pretty clear that he lost some confidence in the jump shot over the course of the night. Like, there were some that he could have pulled that he didn't take. And I think the moment got a little big and the lights got bright, and it's just part of it. He is still 19 after all. Like, you got to remember, like, people forget that because he's 7'5" and he's got a goatee and all that stuff. Like, he is still a 19-year-old kid. Like,
that's the thing. He's still a baby. Like, he's still trying to figure out just life in general, let alone being the face of a $1 billion corporation, right? Like, there's not a lot of 19-year-olds walking around as the face of a $1 billion organization.
Yeah, and then so when you get grown men like a Kai Jones, who is a third-year, whole another conversation, but a third-year NBA player playing in the summer league, like it's a whole different ball game, and it just sped up a little bit quick for him today. At least today, he won't have any athletes on Portland's roster that are like Kai Jones. So
can I say this real quick? Yeah. Kai Jones, that was a slam dunk type of slam he had. He threw it in from 4 feet away, and he was falling away, and all Wemby did was just flail and trip on his own shoe, and he still made a good rim contest. So yes, he's gonna get targeted. Yes, he's gonna get dunked on. But like, that alone happens.
It's like I said, somebody texted me, I was like, wow, game 1, he already got dunked on. I was like, cool, now he can be on the list with every other rim protector in NBA history.
Alonzo
Really?
Mourning, Mutombo, Gobert, all the greats, all the great bigs. It happens,
Yeah.
man. It
I mean,
happens.
Shaq pushed Patrick Ewing down, so like
Jesus
Or or who's the Mike Chris Dudley? Remember when he dunked,
Oh my
on Chris
God.
Dudley threw the ball? But it happens, and like we talked about before, like just him being on the court affected the game. Like him just moving. Like him just moving was like, and guards at the point of attack were like, oh, okay, I'm too small, I can't see. So it just him just being on the court affected the game. So like that, those are the things people don't see because they're not stats and all that. But he's going to affect the game in ways that are just absolutely just going to be so crucial for you guys. But Walker, you got anything you want to ask?
On the Wemby thing, I mean, not really. Honestly, I was kind of surprised a little bit. I thought the jump shot would go down more. Like now, I talked about this before, like, and I know it's a process, but like I don't think he's a 27% shooter like he was in Europe. Like I think when the shots come and like he's not taking fadeaway threes in the corner, falling into whatever celebrity sitting in the front row,
Yeah,
I think it'll go up. But just curious, like we all see eye to eye on that, right? Like we,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, because like I thought about it the other night. When the first few didn't go in. I was like, oh, maybe he wrong enough. Like the shot looks good, but it's not.
It looks good.
Down.
He did say, he didn't get enough time to warm. I think that's just a cop-out answer, and then he didn't get another.
I did
some better media training.
I did in our group chat, and I was like, I think my exact words were like, "Man, I don't want to hear that shit."
Literally,
I was like, just learn now. Don't come in and be like, "Oh, the basket was tilted," or "I didn't get enough time to warm up." Just say, "You know what? I had a bad night. We'll get him next time," and I'll just be like, "All right, fine." That's what you're supposed to say. Like, but yeah, that's where I was like he's 19, he'll learn, but it's like, oh, I didn't get enough time to warm up. I don't want to hear it.
Rockets fans are literally trying to push a video of him getting rimmed with a windmill dunk, and I'm just like, oh, what are we doing, guys? I shouldn't even said that. I know people are gonna try and find it now, but literally, like anything and everything he does, people are really trying to pray his downfall. But
yeah, that's the nasty part about this how the NBA is covered and all that. We kind of root for people's downfall. Not us, but like it just seems like people in general are tending to do that. Like it's one summer league game and people are like, oh, look at he's getting dunked on and he shot 2 for 13 and all that. And it's just like, all right, guys, let's relax now. Let's calm down and all that. But were there anyone else, that stood out to you, so far for you guys from the Spurs that, I'm a big Julian Champagnie guy. Walker knows how much I love that. I thought he should have been drafted and all that. And I feel like you guys got a steal, especially for the contract you gave him. I think that's a really good contract. I feel like he's going to contribute even coming off the bench, for you guys, give you some quality minutes.
He very well could just fill like the modern day Danny Green role.
Like
that may be his role. Like he had a transition block. He had another one where he stripped where he kind of did the transition defense thing and then was an average to above average defender on the other end in summer league. And then he's a, at worst, probably a streaky 3-point shooter, which, I mean, he got up the other night too. Like he got to the rim and got up,
everything people worried about him coming out of the draft. We saw some of that, in the game, the last game Friday. And I was like, man, he's showing people.
I really I didn't think that was in his bag, and the stare down was extra too. Like he's got a little bit of sauce to him, which that's that New York though. I think
I would say it's the New York.
St. John's, the St. John's.
Yeah. And no.
And how did he get that slam? How did he get that slam, Walker? Because of Wemby's gravity. Wemby just let me just fade out to this short corner after this corner three.
I know.
Champagnie. I was like,
well, and I mentioned this on a Spaces the other night, like. While he's on the roster, like I would love for Champagnie. Don't learn any of the other stuff he does, but go to the Doug McDermott school of cutting. Like just learn how to cut and eat a lot of those easy buckets like that. Like don't ask him about defense. Like go ask somebody else about defense. But you can ask him about cutting and stuff. And like that's evolution. I think that'll come this year when he gets better players on the floor who can see the floor and don't have like that aren't like legally blind, like the guy running the point right now. But yeah, like I thought Branham showed a lot more, like shooting it from three. Like, you knew the mid range and the floater were there, but he's exercising more feel in terms of getting to the rim, and then he's shooting the three ball with a lot more confidence. It just looks like he's getting more lift on it. Like last year, he was missing a bunch short, and if he missed long, it was because it was like flat and hitting back rim and stuff. It just looks like getting the legs back into it and getting that lift that the shot needed. And if he starts hitting that shot where like you go under screens, kind of playing that mid range or whatever, it's going to be problematic. Like he'll be a legit microwave probably off the bench.
Yeah, he's not going to be a 30% 3-point shooter again, like for you guys. He's
no, I think
at least mid,
like 35.
Yeah, mid 30s and all that. But yeah, he definitely down. Anyone else that stood out to you guys so far?
I love Charles Bediako. We can go there. Like, I mean, I'll talk about it. Like, we can go there.
I was gonna say, you know about the belt, bro. You know what I want to say. Well, go ahead. You got it.
I know. I'm a Bediako guy. Like, I think he's done like. People get caught up in such material things that show up on box scores, and that's such a problem because people just either don't watch the whole game and then they look at the stats. But like, if you go back and actually watch the games, like, there's been a lot of sequences. Like, I know in California there was a sequence where like Bediako came down, blocked a shot, ran the floor rim to rim, got a layup or a dunk, came back down, and they went high screen and roll, and then he switches off and guards a guard and forces an air ball. And I was like that's a backup big starter pack if nothing else. Like, and also like I'll say this, he hadn't hit one yet, but like if he catches the ball open from deep, like he's pulling it.
Yeah,
like, I don't know, and like it hadn't gone, and it's not broken. Like it's not totally unfixable.
Mm-hmm.
He could be a low 30s 3-point percentage, like a 32% 3-point shooter. Like, all right, I at least have to run out there, and like if I leave him open, he's gonna knock it down. Like I told Evan, I was like, hot take, but like I'll take that dude on my roster over Charles Bassey, like maybe in like a year. Like, and they gave Bassey basically the Champagny deal. Like they gave him 4 for 10. And I would take. Granted, there's room for 3 bigs on the roster. They wouldn't have to pick one or the other, but I think he's going to get it. Like, I think he's going to make the team. Like, he's on an Exhibit 10 right now. Like, I think he's going to make the team. I hope he makes the team. He'll make somebody's team, if not ours.
I really want him to get one of the last 2 ways, but we have to talk about roster spots, man. You can walk into training camp with 20, but before we do that, you know I have to do this, Walker. You know I have to do this. We haven't talked about one guy. One guy, bro. One guy. City boy. Come on, man. Come on, man. I'm talking about probably one of the – he's not going to be in talks with Jeremy Sohan and Wemby in terms of point-of-attack defense. But in our second unit, guarding the opposing team's best wing and guard, can play 1 through 4. I can't give him the unicorn tier. He has to be just 3 more inches, maybe 6'11", but he's still young. City, I really do believe once he gets a solid mid-range game and a solid float game, just a little bit more touch, what's his ceiling? What's his ceiling? As a solid playmaker that's going to know the correct reads to make in the Spurs system, plus the advanced reads, float game, good defender, shots there. The G League numbers are never accurate. It was 30%, but I'm not going to buy that. Give him a couple years. Give him the right shooting coach. Can attack the rim.
Send them to shooting boot camp like they've got Sohan in right now.
Come on, man.
Hey.
1,000 shots a day. Let's do it.
And it is crazy. I saw someone else tweet it, but it is crazy how no matter who the Spurs play, like nobody seems to be able to go by City Sissoko. Like nobody can go by him.
And there's room for him to get bigger too.
I know. And that's why, like, it sucks. I wish we were going to play Houston because Amen has such an elite first step. I would have loved to see City.
Yeah, that would have been fun to see.
I would have liked to just see, like, all right, let's see, like, elite first step, elite athlete. If he can't get by you, then the ceiling is the roof. Like,
that's definitely going to be a matchup in the second unit for one of those preseason games for sure. Because they're both 6'7", 6'8". Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, that's one of those where it's like if you can really, really stick in front of him, or really just like that type of guard who has that like elite explosive first step. I mean, the ceiling is who knows what. Like, I mean, if he becomes even a halfway respectable shooter and can give you a little and can give you some in the mid range, like the passing's already really good, and he can bring the ball up the floor in transition and create that way.
Locking up. He did good against Brandon Miller the other night.
So. Super confident too. Like, we're not going to talk about the confidence tier, but he's he's not afraid of that assignment. So
super comfortable in his role too. Like you can tell he does not like. He really knows that hey, like in this league, I'm not going to shoot the ball a lot. Like that's not what I'm going to be asked to do.
Those G League guys are very confident guys.
Yeah, he's got to get a first step too, though. Like he's got to be able to like. He can't do anything in half court offense right now. Like he has to bring something to the.
But you don't need him
flashes,
to right now.
Flashes,
yeah. But you don't need him to do all that. You just as long as he's doing the little things and he's defending, you know.
We can't deny the game winners now, Walker. Come on now.
I mean, like I would just like off the catch. Like I would like you to not be like, what and not as a shooter, but like I would just like you to be able to halfway go by somebody and get to the.
I see what you're saying, and have a consistent 3-level game or 3-level threat type of your archetype. I feel.
Yeah, like, and I'm not even talking about like making open threes. Like, even if he shoots 30 to 32% from three, it is like at his peak. Like, I mean, like, I would just like you to be able to go by somebody and get to your mid range in the half court, where like, you know, you're at least like a threat to score. Because also, like, if you get that, like, in that, like, if you can open that part of your game up, it's going to open up all that extra stuff for your creation, like as a passer too, like because you're going to be able to go by someone and then they have to play you to score, and you're going to be able to find shooters, find Wemby on that backside lob, like whatever it ends up being. I do like he's got to find a way to be able to like get that first step or become crafty enough if he can't get the first step to get by guys. Like so, but he's along. Like we knew when we took him that was a
project.
It was a project, like that it wasn't going to be perfect right away. But you can see his strengths and his weaknesses really clearly. Like it's not just. You know, it's not just a mixed bag when he shows up. Like you pretty much know what you're getting right now with him, and there's something to be said for that. So,
and
then
my guy Don Barlow.
We didn't mention Barlow. Yeah,
I was just about to say, my boy Don Barlow. Yeah. How you guys feeling about Dom?
Not as good as the first game in Cali where he had like 20 and 10, but like I think he's like, I mean, he can play. Like he's not gonna be. You're not gonna be able to give him a two-way. Like he's gonna have to be a Champagne type contract, I think, like where he's gonna have to get paid.
He still hasn't got that bag yet.
And like I really think they wanted to wait and see what it looked like once Wemby got there and what he looked like next to other players that were going to be on the roster. And ever since that moment kind of popped, ever since Malachi Branham suited up, Don Barlow hasn't really quite looked as good as he looked that first night. And so I think that's why I think
log jam. I think you got a log jam at the forward spot.
It's more the lines of just opportunity and usage and plays.
I was going to say his usage rate goes way down, and so like when Branham doesn't play and Blake Wesley isn't good, you have the opportunity
three times. With the
you know who Walker doesn't want to see on the opening.
I know,
roster.
But seriously, like when you think about that first game in California, like somebody had to take the shots, and like that opened it up for Julian Champagnie and Don Barlow because like. What Blake did do in that first game was like you saw the first step where he was going by guys, and then Barlow kind of slow rolls right into that free throw line elbow area and gets those mid-range jumpers where like that's an area of his game where that's really, really strong. Like that's a really high percentage shot for him. And he's been really, really competitive on the glass. He blocks shots. Like he does a lot of good things. Like he's good enough to be on the roster. But the reason he in my opinion, hasn't gotten paid yet is because I think they were waiting to see what it was going to look like when all right, now like Malachi's going to be there along with Champagnie, who's shooting the lights out in summer. Blake's still going to be handling the ball. So like now let's see what your role looks like when you're not getting those mid-range jumpers and taking 13 shots, 14 shots. So I think they wanted to see what that looked like. And to be honest, like it's been a little different. Like it hasn't quite been the same. It's still been good. It just hasn't quite been like that. Like I think somebody tweeted that like, oh, like he's a first round player that went undrafted. And I was like, whoa, all right, let's pump the brakes. Like he may be that, but like it's a little early to say that. So I like him. I'd like him on the roster. I like Bediako a lot too, and I want him on the roster. So we'll see how it works out. There's a lot of bigs that can get minutes for this team that from internally, where I was a little skeptical coming into the summer that was going to.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
That was unintentional.
Yeah, I was kicking it to you anyway because
I was trying to clear my thought. I'm so sorry.
You're good. I had hit every big in there other than like the actual vets like Zach Collins and.
That's my bad.
And the degenerate and the knee problem Kim Birch, who hasn't actually stepped foot in San Antonio since he got acquired. I don't think.
Yep. It's crazy. He's probably going to get bought out. He's the one guy that you can probably say, okay, this $58 million that we could just roll into next season with.
Yeah.
We have 5 or 6 small forwards on the roster, and half of them need to get cut or traded.
You don't know who's getting traded because at some point somebody's getting traded, like whether it's now or next offseason. Like,
did you
somebody's
see?
Getting traded.
Did you see Devontae Graham sitting next to the boys? He said, "Front row. I'm looking. Hey, I you know what I'm saying? Case closed. I'm sitting pretty as a Spur, number 4. I'm sitting pretty. I don't know. Maybe it's Doug. Maybe it's the Lamar.
Like even on the wing though, like say in 2 years, like you're looking at having Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, like Wemby functions as a wing, City Sissoko. Like you have all these wings, and I'm a firm believer that you can never have too many wings. But like, I mean, if you count Devin Vassell as a wing too, like he's going to be there, which he also hasn't gotten paid yet, which is interesting.
That's next season. Next season.
But he can get an extension this year, though, but they're probably going to wait it out.
He was eligible, but I think coming off the knee injury, it's probably in the best interest. It's in his best interest to be like, hey, let me just see what I can do healthy.
And then his usage next to Wemby, like we always talk about the tier of bags you can get. It's like a RJ Barrett, Tyler Hero, Desmond Bain. Devin Vassell can work him in that tier and be a 23-point per game scorer for the first time. But it really just makes sure he has to make sure that he's efficient and like he's the solidified second option. I want to talk about Don Barlow real quick before we talk about more roles on this team. But Don Barlow as the small ball 5 and a power forward, he's utilized as a center now. But he has to dominate these games. He has to dominate G League level talent to showcase I can be in the second unit. Showcase I can be your athletic role man that we really don't have besides Wemby or Sohan. And if they're going to be utilizing different roles in the same rotation in the second unit, or just they're being plugged and played, we got to have Don Barlow. And here's the thing: I think Don Barlow knows that. Don Barlow, Walker, this is going to sound dumb, but the emphasis he had on that breakaway slam when he threw that from his wrist, just cocked it back and he said, I was just like, cha-ching. Okay, we gotta get this man paid. Not just because of that, but what he brings on the defensive side as an anchor next to Wemby. So we talked about Zach Collins could be a 3, that's the wrong term, a stretch big. I'm gonna say 3-and-D, a stretch big next to Wemby, right? Let's throw a little bit of versatility. Let's throw an anchoring Don Barlow and a freaking Charles Bassey and throw Wemby at the 3, surrounded by guards. Let the versatility you can have in these rotations. You can mismatch galore with anybody. Mamu got re-signed for $2 million on the second day. They wanted to bring him back, but they were making sure they had rotation spots, right?
He's a nice finesse big right there.
Yep. He's a finesse big that took Rudy Gobert off the dribble in the post.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
I like that. I like Mamu. I like them coming out too. So
it's the Spurs are finding these guys, and we just got to get these guys in the right roles. And everybody wants to get paid the right amount so they feel respected. And realistically, all these other restricted free agents like PJ Washington, Matisse Thybulle couldn't get swung and trade for. He's back with Portland. These guys are probably in deals that just get pulled back.
The Spurs, like, give them some credit, man. Like, they're just so smart. Like, role players are more expensive than ever, and so they're just like, you know what, we're gonna pay these year 1, year 2 guys who we we can already see the projection coming. Let's just lock them in for 4 years at like $3 million per year, and like they'll jump.
You're gonna take it. They're gonna take it.
They're gonna take it. They just finished a 2-way deal. They just finished a 2-way deal, and it's like, well, shit, I can guarantee everything. Like. So they get their guaranteed bag, and they're going to look up in 2 years and be like, "Dang, I'm a $20 million a year player." I took this bag.
Though.
And,
very smart.
I know, and so like the Spurs are going to end up come 2025. They're going to be able to go hunt for a superstar to put next to Wemby, and you're going to look
value.
And they're going to look up and be like, "Dang, like Mamu's making $2 million a year. Champagne's making $3 million a year. Bassey's making $2.5 million a year. Like." They don't even have $10 million a year tied up in those 3 role players. Like, and you're just gonna be like, dang, man.
That's facts.
Like you're just gonna look and be like, dang, like, and just wait. Like, it could be like, and I think City is a candidate to get a like fully guaranteed deal. Like, so like then you're looking at potentially a 4-year, like $7 or $8 million deal for him, where you look up, it's like, dang, man, that's another $2 million player that's just wreaking havoc. Like,
literally,
they're tying everybody up for all this really, really cheap money. and Wemby's on a rookie deal, and eventually you're going to look up and they're going to have a few like expensive players, but they're going to have no max players come like that, like these next few huge free agency classes. Like they're going to have no max players. And like as hard as it is to give out max contracts in free agency now, they're going to be able to hand them out like candy. Like, and I know that they're a small market, but like Wemby is going to attract some level of free agent just because naturally, and also the bag is going to attract players, and that's the most important thing. Is like if you have, because all of a sudden it's like, hey man, we've got arguably the greatest coach to ever coach this game. We have a legitimate like generational prospect, and we can give you more money than everybody else. You're gonna win those. Yeah. You're gonna win. Like you're gonna win in free agency with that.
In Texas too. You're living in Texas. I mean,
yeah, and no state taxes. We're like
no
a max in San Antonio is gonna be worth more than the max in LA. Like
in New York, yeah.
It's a
real thing. And also, like then you like, hey man, like you're gonna have a really really solid chance to win here because guess what? We tied up a bunch of really good basketball players for $2 million a year. Like,
I'm glad you brought that up because that's like
it makes your job easier. Like,
yeah. The fact that you like with Champagne and a bunch of guys, like you signing them right now because they're making peanuts and you throwing, hey, we'll give you $12 million guaranteed. I mean, a lot of guys would be like, yeah, let me take that because they don't know what's their next step. They might not get that contract, they might not get that opportunity, and then now they're out of the league. So yeah, let me get that guaranteed $12 million or whatever. And so that's very smart because you see sometimes in baseball they do that. Well, they'll get rookies and they'll sign them, because they know they might be worth double that.
Sign them for $100 million while they're in AAA because they know they may get 600 later and it'll prevent it from happening. The point being, like, and it's also one of those where like this is where it's different. Like in the NBA, like I can move $3 million a year. Like somebody will take that contract if he sucks. Let's just say Julian Champagny just totally bottoms out, isn't a player. Like that's not going to happen. But let's just use him for reference. Like isn't a player. I can call 25 teams and they'll be like, yeah, man, we'll take him.
Yeah, it's nothing. We'll
take him. Like, and what happened 6 months ago? Philly let him go, and days went by before San Antonio picked him up. Same thing with Charles Bassey. Shout out to Doc Rivers. Shout out to you. Doc Rivers.
You got Bassey. Oh my god.
He was getting
There's not a lot of smart people in basketball. I realized. There are not a lot of smart people in basketball that just don't know what they're doing. Like little things like that, you don't think but it's like now you let them get the Spurs, and now the Spurs just might have two pieces that might contribute next year for nothing.
Maybe you let Don Barlow go undrafted, like.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. And I had Don Barlow as like I think like top 35 player on my board. Like it was like he's a draftable player, and like it's kind of crazy.
Well, and then like look at the UDFA market this year, where basically like I think. All of us, everybody I talked to on consensus was like, yeah, Bediako was a draftable player. Like he may have been like he was a back end second round guy, but he was draftable. And then also like I think everybody was pretty much universally like, yeah, like Jabari Rice isn't going to get drafted, but he's just a cool basketball player.
I loved him.
It was like he's just a cool basketball player that's going to be good.
He had one of the best combine performances and invitational performances, though. He won the MVP at Pitt. He basically just played himself into getting drafted.
Got a DNP the other night, which I thought was weird because they've already given him two.
He's sick. He's sick.
I know, but he traveled to Vegas and said that he was going to be active for Friday, I guess, and so that's why I was like, "Oh, he got a DNP." But I guess if he's still sick,
Sir was definitely he was definitely a big benefit of the offseason. Jabari Rice.
So is he playing tonight?
He just posted that he's ready to hoop. So I'm not sure if that's implications that he's ready to play next game.
If he plays tonight, I'll be like, I'm just telling, like, I love that kid, man. That's a winning player, like.
Yeah,
another one. He's a winning player. Like he's going to make shots from deep. Like he made shots literally everywhere he played in college. He's old, he needs to come
that's probably contribute.
Like that's part of it.
He's gonna take pressure off of Blake too, man. We need that.
Best ball fake in the history of the sport. And so you get that part of it. Yeah, you get that part of it. Like he's just going to be a winning player off the bench, man. Where you're just like,
you need those.
I know, but the thing is, like San Antonio has them in abundance, and all of them
have a bunch of them. That's the thing. Yeah.
All of them combined are going to cost them like $15 million. Like it's insane. Like they have such a good it's almost like a farm system in baseball. Like they literally just have this wide variety of players where no, they're not all going to work out, but like a handful of them are going to work out. Like it's what they call like a bell curve system. Like some of them are probably going to pop and be even better than you expected them to be, and some of them are going to be total busts. And then some of them are average. Like, but when you have all these players tied up for so cheap, you allow that to happen. Like you allow that system to go into play, where as opposed to like, oh, I only get like 2 or 3 guys, or I have to pay vets the vet minimum because I don't have any cap space. Like they've got like they're basically preparing now for the future. So like they're never going to have to do that. The vet minimum thing, like they're just not going to have to do it.
One thing I would like to see though is if they could make one. They have to trade a couple guys away though. I know we have 20 training roster spots until they knock that down to 15 the day before the first game. But if they can possibly line up those trades and just get one more guy that has value in the restricted free agent market, you're pretty much looking at a PJ Washington that's going to cost you 13, 14 million. But here's the thing: when you're ready, like when you are ready to make a move in terms of a superstar that comes available, or maybe push that needle to really get going in terms of contention, you can say, okay, we can either trade PJ, or we can trade the lesser players that have shown flashes that have exceeded expectations in the roles when the players hurt or players out, and they just are the odd man out, knowing that teams have seen those players before, and that maybe that they are obviously available. Another guy that could be had, I know, Walker, I don't even know your take on this, but if the Spurs can find a way to get Killian Hayes, I know it's just a off the radar rumor. I've been high on him just because there's not a lot of point guards that are in that same tier. Trey Jones, that'll give you a fair amount of usage, but it'll be a good playmaker. But can also create for himself. Don't know what that package is. They just traded for Joe Harris, so they don't necessarily need another shooter. But a Reggie Bullock.
No, Reggie's rocking for my guys on Twitter.
He is.
He's a good team. He's a good locker room guy.
Doug.
Talk about it, Chris.
Doug costs basically the same thing. He can go. Like genuinely, I think Doug. Some collection, like 3 of these 4 guys are going to be gone. Like Doug, Chetty, Lamar Stevens, and then Bullock. And I think Bullock's going to be the one that stays just because he's a I think guy, reputationally, he's a really good locker room guy. Like,
but here's the thing.
When we had him in New York,
I was about to say, talk about it. Go ahead.
We had him in New York, and he helped us make it to playoffs. And when he left the next year, you definitely saw the lack of cohesion with that Knicks team, and that's why we didn't make the playoffs. So he's a good locker room piece that vet that you could, because you need vets too on your team.
And that has value.
And he has value too. You can get something for him still.
But I know, but valuable. You can feature him from November through January and then trade him. Like you don't have to if we're talking about to start the season, like. You can just feature him and be like, all right, you know what? You're going to be here for a while. We'll see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. Like we have to meet the salary floor anyway. Like it'll be fine. That's kind of where you're at with that, I think. But if you're trading bodies out, like Lamar Stevens is almost 100%, never showing up. Cam Birch will get waived. That's 2 roster spots. Chetty probably gets that
was my next phase is going into the roster and how it's going to look. So we could.
You got to get it down to 15. 15 plus 3 2-ways. I think isn't that it this year?
So it's 15, and there's 3 2-way spots.
3 2-ways.
Yeah.
Who are your 2-way guys? Who are your 3 2-ways? Or have you figured that out yet?
So Serge Jabari got one.
Okay.
So he's gonna have one. And then. Barlow was on a 2-way last year, but he's basically said
he doesn't want it.
He's not. No, he's basically said I'm going to get
he wants a contract.
Yeah, he wants a contract.
They should convert it. Yeah, they should convert it. Especially for cheap.
Yeah, so I think those last 2 2-way spots are up for grabs, unless I'm just missing someone glaringly obvious.
I mean Bediako, but I don't think he's going to get a. He's not.
Bediako's on an Exhibit 10.
Exhibit 10. Right?
Where he's here through the preseason, and then they can convert it to a 2-way if they want to.
We'll probably get a 2-way then.
And then the other one that we don't know yet for sure is we don't know what they're doing with City. Like if that's a 2-way, then he could fill one of those 2-way slots, or if he gets a guaranteed deal, then you have another 2-way slot open. So I think they've got some options there. They've kept their options open. Like they can put different people on 2-ways. Yeah. They'll figure it out. So the only one locked in though, I think, is Jabari, and then you also for sure know that you're not putting Barlow on one because he said, I think I'm not signing a two-way. Unless he has like no other choice, which he would have. Like, I think he'll have other choices. So, did I miss anything, Evan?
We just got to shed some of these small forwards off our roster, bro. We just got to get them gone. And those trades are official. So, they can still be traded, but, we have to do it quick sooner rather than later. So,
yeah, so I think.
So how's the depth chart? Let's look at the Spurs going into the season, and let's add whoever's the summer league and to the big boy roster.
Careful, Walker. Careful.
How is the depth chart looking right now? And before we go into that, I want to ask a pop question. Do you think if you don't get the number one pick, do you think Pop still signs an extension and all that?
Maybe not.
Or does Wemby like added the youth, the founder youth to him, and suddenly he's feeling rejuvenated that he can maybe get his next Tim Duncan?
Maybe not 5-year extension, but maybe some sort of extension where, like, if you get a Scoot Henderson where he's still like, all right, like that seems cool. Like, I'm gonna hang around for a while and do that. But I mean, I would imagine, and also I don't think it's just Wemby. Like, I think he looks at it and is like, damn, I've got Wemby, Sohan, like. I already knew Keldon and Vassell were good. Like, I've got something here. Like, I can really, really go get another ring before this thing's over with. So, I think that's what he's thinking. Where he's just like, yeah, let me just. And I don't like. This is per stuff I've heard on my own. Like, I think his ego is pretty big. Like, I don't think he wants to stop. Like, I don't think he knows what he would do if he stopped. Like, he would just legitimately be one of those that retired and would have no idea what to do. Even though, like, in his interviews, he would try to have you believe otherwise. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I'm at with it. So I think that's where that stands. Like, I think he enjoys it a lot. So I think that's why he's still doing it.
Now he looks a little bit more excited in pressers where he's kind of had that grouchiness.
I know. Did you not see the glimmer in his eyes when they showed him on the camera the other night?
Yeah,
excited as I've seen him in years.
My man is happy right now. You got the number one pick. I mean, I think it definitely helps that he got Wemby. That's to think that maybe in a few years this guy could be.
You know how much it takes. You know how excited he has to be to go actually like work on his own in the off season, like fly to France and actually do basketball work in the off season, like. That's all. Like, that's gotta, like, you've got to really like somebody to do that. So I mean, he went to all those playoff games and just like watched him for fun. Usually, I'm just gonna watch him play. So that's where he's at.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, let's look at the roster.
I'm currently talking to y'all and also trying to like get some kind of depth chart pulled up where I can have every single name.
Oh, bro, you got to just spit it. Trey Jones is the only actual point guard on this team. Like, when you think about it, Blake Wesley is a combo guard trying to learn how to play. Devontae Graham is the size of a point guard, but is a shooting guard. Yeah, and that can't play defense, but he's a sniper when he gets hot. Devin Vassell is the starting shooting guard. Everyone knows that. Malachi could start at point guard. He very well could start at point guard, but we do need his.
That's the option that people aren't talking about enough.
But
this whole stupid Jeremy. So
I really do think careful. I really do think that Malachi is best suited as a 7th, 8th man off the bench, getting started minutes. Because once he attacks second units, he's already comfortable in his little mid-range game. He's obviously adding more to his bag. He's gonna get comfortable, and he could have star potential. We didn't use that term, frankly, loose enough last year. But unlocking his 20-point per game field, he had an amazing February. He should have been the rookie of the month in February. Shout out to Walker Kessler, though. But yeah, I think the small forwards are solidified. Keldon and Champagnie are the only people that are going to be getting wing starter minutes. Champagnie's going to be getting maybe a little less. Let me turn that down. Let me turn that down just a tad. City is where it turns into like, okay, I could be a point forward. You can throw me at 1 through 4, but he needs to be utilized the right way. And he has to have the right surrounding cast. I don't want Blake and City to play ever with each other unless he has like a Devin or like a Wemby to bail him out and Collins, because we need better decision makers out there. And obviously these guys don't have tunnel vision, but they have their ways and just being able to easy to read, if that makes sense. Blake Wesley goes straight into the lane and then he's not going to be able to slam on you, so he's where he's gonna go turnover
to the other team.
So and that's just my fair analysis from him, because he came into the league as a combo guard, 6'3", 6'4". No one can stop him. Is a bullet hole to the rim, bullet to the rim. But literally, his decision making is just kind of lackluster. So the forwards have to be Sohan and Wemby. Like, there's no other forwards on this team when you think about it besides John Barlow, and he's not.
They've got 17 guys on guaranteed contracts right now.
Mm-hmm. And like the Setties, the Lamar Stevens, even like the Reggie Bullocks. Like, I really do believe that's good. They're going to be traded. Like,
sorry, 18. I forgot Lamar Stevens. God rest his soul. They have 18 guys on guaranteed contracts with Serge Ibaka on a 2-way. So they, just to get down to the training camp roster of 20 with the 3 2-way contracts, they're going to have to get rid of one of the guys that's already on the roster. So at least, and then to cut it to 15, they'll have to get rid, obviously, of 2 more. So they've got to get rid of 3 guys that are already on the roster.
That's crazy.
So, because I broke it down, even though I don't believe in this, like, positionally, just kind of where they were listed on the depth chart on CBS. So, like, you've got Trey Jones, Devontae Graham, and Blake Wesley at the 1. That's 3 dudes. You've got Vassell, Branham, Champagny, and then Serge Ibaka on a 2-way, kind of on that 2-guard wing, 2/3 wing spot. And then the other wing spot, you've got Keldon, Sohan, McDermott, Chetty, and then City. And then you've got Wemby, Barlow, Lamar Stevens, and then Zach Collins, Mamu, Kim Birch, and Charles Bassey. So that's 18, or I think that's like 19 total dudes, or something like that.
It's a football
or 18
team.
total dudes.
The squad, yeah.
No, and but you got to get rid. So if you cut Lamar Stevens out, which that's easy, he's owed like $1.9 million, no big deal. Like, get him out of there. And then I think you get rid of, like, one of the Chettys or the Doug McDermott's or something like that, and then the Kim Birch. Like, Kim Birch is the next one. Like, you'll probably see Lamar Stevens and then Kim Birch go, and that gets you that opens up the 2-way spots. I think just at least to get you into training camp, right? Because you've got 18 guaranteed now, and then you've got the 1 2-way. So you need to open up 2 spots. So you get rid of Kim Birch and Lamar Stevens. That gets you down to your training camp roster.
16. Yeah.
Yeah. That gets you down to your training camp roster of 20, and then you'll have to make decisions. You'll have to get rid of 2 guaranteed contract players to keep the 3 2-way spots, and then be down to your 50, the number of 15. If that makes sense. And also, like, for this thought exercise, I converted Don Barlow to a full deal. Like, I just assumed that they were going to do that, because I think that they're probably going to do that.
They should.
Yeah. It'll be another one. I'm guessing it'll look something like the Bassey deal. Probably. Maybe shorter term. Maybe he wants to, like, hit free agency again where he can get paid in 2 years. But it'll look something like the Bassey deal if I had to guess, because he's going to have to he's like Champagne's dropping 30 bombs in Summer League pretty much on a nightly basis. Like,
on the rec, yep.
And also has, like, a regular season stretch where he averaged 20 and 6, like the last 10 to 15 games last season. And, like, I know a lot of times we say that end of season stretch is misguiding, and, like, it's hard to believe in it.
Yeah.
But, when he walks into a room to negotiate with someone, like, he can at least be like, hey, I did that, so let's pay attention. Like, let's treat it like it happened, And then he goes to Summer League and is doing not only the things that he already did last season, but he's improved in other, like, areas of his game. It's like,
yeah.
So,
you see that burst. You see the athleticism. You see some of the defensive things that point we're tripping on when he coming out of St. John's, And
point being, Barlow won't have that kind of leverage walking into a room to negotiate with the team, I don't think. So, like, if he wants a guaranteed deal, it may look something more like a 2 for 8 or something, or like a 2 for 6, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. Probably something like that. Definitely.
Because I don't think he's going to be one, like, as, like, solid as he looks. Like, I don't think he's going to be one that wants to lock himself up on $3 million a year for 4 years. Like, I think he's probably going to be like, well, let me hold up and hit the market again in 2 years.
Yeah,
like,
he might feel like his ceiling's a little higher than Julian's.
Yeah,
so he might think he has more potential to get maybe more down the line.
Right. So, yeah, but I mean that's where they're at. All the Keldon trades, I guess, didn't happen. That's what we hoped for.
I mean, let's not say we. I'll just sprinkling some speculation on the timeline. Nothing more, no bias. No.
Yeah, and whoever asked the question at the press conference, Brian Wright didn't even let him finish the question. He was just like, no. He's just like, I already know what you're gonna ask. No, he's not getting
no trade. Yeah.
No, and that's why. Yeah, but
what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen if Julian turns into a better off the bench option if Sohan starts? Like how?
Yeah, you get in trouble then. That's why I wanted him gone.
That's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
Hey, shout out to all the leakers out there, man. When the Spurs trade gets leaked, it falls through.
I know. But yeah, that's where they're at. Like, I'll tell you what, like they better find somebody. They better give Keldon a playmaker, because if he can't stand in the corner and shoot threes, it's rough. Even last year, his catch and shoot numbers were pretty good. They were on 40% from three on catch and shoot threes, but the rest of it,
he runs in circles to crave for himself. Yeah. So we need that Wemby volume, and that's no slander. When you have no self creation.
That's why like I get why people wanted to keep Keldon, but if you wanted to keep Keldon, people are like, yeah, but like his volume needs to stay up. It's like, did you not watch all of last season? Like, wouldn't you want Vassell to maybe take on a little bit more primary role along with Wemby, and then let Keldon go back to doing what he did really well, like being a third option kind of stand, catch and shoot, like almost what I think like Jabari Smith's going to be. Like, I either catch and shoot it from beyond the arc, or catch and pump fake and go by someone to get to the rack, or one dribble pull up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where he's almost like a 3-tool scorer, where he literally has those 3 tools and that's it. Because that's basically what he has right now. It's like those 3 tools. He can catch and shoot, he can pump fake and go by you and dunk on you, or he can pump fake and go by and take a 1 dribble pull up mid-range jump shot. And that's basically it. Anything else is just discombobulated and hard to watch.
It's because the shot is a little slow. The load up is just
because it's like loads it over the top of the head, and then he loads it over the top of the head, and then it's not one of those quick releases. It's a set shot. Like, he's a set shooter. He can never gonna be. There's never gonna be any like loose fluid movement into this. Like, that's not a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No.
Like my high school coach used to ask me, who does that?
Shout out to RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
But fellas, this was good. This was a great show. I appreciate you guys. We're definitely going to be talking more, throughout the season, with your team. I know there's a lot of exciting things. I
didn't even say that many bad things about Blake Wesley.
We'll say that for another show. We'll have it the Blake Wesley, show.
Relax, bro.
Hey, I know, but I will say this. I will say, and I'm on the record and it's recorded. You can play it back. I gave him I'm giving him this whole season. Yeah. Like, I'm totally open to changing my mind. I didn't close the book. I just said I'm not happy right now.
He's not happy.
No, I'm not happy right now. But I did say, hey, like, I'm open to changing my mind, and you have the entirety of this season. And if you don't change my mind, that's cool, man. Tyrese Proctor's good. Like,
you already think about Tyrese Proctor.
there's so many other guards next year's class, man.
There's a lot of guards next year, Walker and all that. But got to give him a shot. But Evan, appreciate you coming on the show, brother. This was a lot of fun. We're definitely going to do this again. Tell the people where they can find you and know your good work.
For sure. I'm really just on Twitter with this NBA draft analysis. It's just Evan Townsend _. I will probably follow you back as long as you're not a troll and you have some semi-decent content, and just getting ready for next season, man. It's a super exciting time. Hopefully Wemby plays good tonight. We didn't really talk about that, but I'm looking for just a 15, 10, and 5. Can you give me that?
He's gonna give me that, Evan. He's gonna give it to you. I promise.
That's all I'm asking for. So
he's gonna get you. He's gonna have it way better. He's gonna play a lot better and all that.
And if he's gonna shoot the step back 3, don't airball it.
Yeah, definitely does. He's definitely gonna be better and all that. Looking forward to it. Shout out to Walker for hopping on the show. and putting this together. Appreciate you. You can follow me off the ball pod. You can follow Walker there. Follow Evan. He does a lot of great work and all that. Looking forward to tonight's game for the Spurs and all that, and how the Spurs season comes along. But another episode of Off the Ball podcast in the books. Make sure to go follow me at Off the Ball Pod. Follow Off the Ball Network and all that. But be well, be safe, take care, everyone.